Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Welcome back again to this fourth and the final session of this weekend's Weekend with Wisdom with Vidushi Maitri Goswami ji. And we have been discussing since yesterday, Maitri ji has been discussing about the role of Dharma in the pursuit of Moksha. Moksha everybody wants, and nowadays we have so many teachers teaching Vedanta, teaching spiritual, teaching various yoga, various granthas, everything. But I find that the most important preliminary foundational thing which is missing in this discourse often, not everywhere, not always, but often, is the role of dharma in this pursuit of moksha. Without dharma, there is no chitta shuddhi. Without chitta shuddhi, there cannot be moksha. So, with this simple principle in mind, I had requested Maitri ji to do this session, and now we are at the end of the session, the very final session. So, whatever questions you have, you can leave it in the Q&A box. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can put there in the comments. We will take up towards the end of the session. So, with this very brief comments, I request Maitri ji to start the session.
Namaste. So, since 3 sessions of this subject, we have been discussing regarding the various aspects of dharma and how dharma should be taken up. What is the usage of dharma with respect of attaining mukti? And as Nitinji said, that without dharma there is no chitta shuddhi, and without the chitta shuddhi one cannot expect mukti as the final pursuit of his life. So, in that respect, we understood what are the Adhyatmic and Adhidevic aspects of Dharma, which are empirically not witnessed by many of the people, and they feel that all these dharmas and anushthanas and karmas have been just preached for the sake of some sort of physical activity, and there are many mortal benefits of these anushthanas, but they don't serve any type of immortal benefit after being followed. So, with that mindset, the whole subject was curated, and I had thought of the subject in that flow that we should prove these things on the basis of Shastric perspective, that how dharma can be used for the sake of mukti and how dharma can be beneficial for attaining immortal fruits. So now towards the final juncture of this talk and towards the conclusive remarks regarding what we have understood since 3 sessions, and from today's session where we discussed the opinions of different acharyas who commented upon what is the role of dharma and how dharma can be integrated with Gyan and Upasana for attaining mukti. And in that flow, we tried to understand that sometimes without Gyan, karma doesn't remain beneficial. Sometimes, in spite of having Gyan, a person who is not making use of karma is not setting a good example for the society. And therefore, even for a Brahmagyani, after being in the superior on the superior stage of Brahmagyan, he is emphasized to follow Dharma Marg. Obviously, it depends upon the Sampradaic structure if he is following any, or if he is if the person is through a specific type of methodology for attaining mukti. Like if he is specifically a karma margi, then Gyan becomes the ang of karma. While if a person is Gyana margi, then karma will become the ang of Gyan and it will be beneficial accordingly. And if a person is going through the devotional practice of worshipping tradition, upasana tradition, then karma and Gyan will be beneficial in his devotional journey or in his upasana for the sake of Chitta Shuddhi, for understanding the form of ultimate reality Brahman, and accordingly for the sake of using karma and Gyan for attaining mukti through upasana tradition. So, in this flow, we understood that different acharyas who have propagated different methodologies, who have propagated different sampradayas, which are focused upon karma marg, Gyan marg, or bhakti marg, they have propagated their methods and they have preached the methodologies for attaining mukti in a specific way. And that's why we can see that some of the acharyas have focused upon karma marg, some of them have focused upon gyan marg, and many of those have focused upon the tradition of bhakti or upasana in modern times. And all these are not two earlier acharyas, but within the time span of 2000 to 3000 years, all these sampradayas have come into existence. And on the basis of Dharma Shastras, these Sampradayik Acharyas have explained the format of Dharma based on Shruti, Smruti, and Pauranika Dharma. So, now towards the most discussed question, that the aspects of Dharma which we learn from Dharma Shastras, from Shruti and Smrutis, from Puranas, from Tantras, are not relevant nowadays. People are not able to follow these parts of Dharma in their full format or with the purest form as preached in Shruti and Smriti. And this fact is not even ignored by the Shastras themselves. And therefore, in Smriti Shastras and in Puranas as well, the chapter in which the description of Kali Yuga, the time in which all of us are surviving, has been given in a very elaborate way by explaining the characteristics of Kalyug, what will be the situation we will be facing in Kalyug, and all the Puranas, the last conclusive remarks of each and every Puran comes with the description of Kalyug. So it is not so that we are in such a condition which was not predicted by Shastras, and it is not even so that the acharyas who have propagated the dharma marg, they were not aware about what will be the situation of dharma in future. And that's why it is not even so that we will have to find some solution for following dharma in modern times which has not been propagated by dharma shastras, and dharma shastras have not provided us any type of particular guidance regarding what should be done during the Kali Yuga and how dharma can be protected and how can we follow the dharma marg during the Kali Yuga. So rather than thinking about the methods on the basis of our own understanding and on the basis of random lines spoken by speakers or random people who talk about protecting the dharma in modern times, we should try to extract the methodologies or the options. Rather, we would say anukalp or vikalpas as explained in the Dharma Shastras themselves for the sake of finding an option, for the sake of surviving in the period by following the Dharma Marg in its most purest form, or in the form to the best of our capacity, the way we can follow the Dharma Marg in modern times. The problem with the all the descriptions given in the Dharma Shastras, people face this problem that we aren't able to understand that what is the Yuga Dharma, what is the Dharma which should be understood in modern context, how Dharma should be practiced by a person in modern times, and just because of the lack of our own understanding, we are not able to extract the methodologies explained by Dharma Shastras themselves, which can provide us a good option. Rather than finding those options, we are adamant towards following the path which is restricted for the people who are not eligible for doing so. So the best option is to stick with what Shastras explain us, to stick with how Dharma Shastras have predicted the situation in Kali Yuga and what are the methodologies which can be beneficial to us for the sake of attaining mukti in the modern times. So Shastras should be referred even in this case. And as I said, that if we go through the conclusive remarks of each and every Puran, all the 18 Puranas, and also from the Smruti Shastras, Kalyug has been elaborated there, and the Dharma Marg has also been taught there in reference to the Kali Dharma and Yuga Dharma. So, starting with what Manusmriti has to say. So, Manusmriti starts by saying, even right from the first chapter, that Chatushpat Sakalo Dharmaha Satyam Chaiva Krite Yuge Nadharmen Agamaha Kashchin Manushyan Pravartate. So, here Manusmriti says this thing that there are the four legs of Dharma Marg, which are Tapa, Gyan, Yagya, and Daan. All these four legs remain content and safe and pure during the Krita Yuga, it means Satya Yuga, and gradually as the time declines through Treta Yuga, Dwapar, and Kali Yuga, each and a single leg of Dharma starts declining, start demolishing, and during the Kali Yuga, we don't remain with even a single leg of Dharma surviving in its purest form. So, what are the legs of Adharma? In that case, Manusmriti says that Itare Shwagamat Dharma Padashastvavaropitah Chaurikanrata Mayabher Dharmaschapaiti Padashaha, which are the three legs of Adharma, because of which the legs of Dharma gets destroyed. So, describing that, Manusmriti says that theft, chaurya, anrat, it means the wrong deeds and the wrong beliefs, and maya, to be bound with ahanta and mamta and avidya shakti. These are the three prominent legs of adharma, which grow gradually with the declining time. And the way dharma was in its purest form during the Satya doesn't remain in its purest form, and the adharma gradually comes into existence. It comes into existence and then spoils the pure form of dharma. Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran, by explaining the Chatushpada Dharma, says that Satya, Daya, Tap, and Daan are the four legs of Dharma, while the four legs of Adharma are, in correspondence to four legs of Dharma, are Asatya, Hinsa in respect to Daan, Asantosh in respect to Tap, and Kalaha in respect to Daan. So, in the 12th skanda of Srimad Bhagavat, where the description of Kali Yuga has been given, there Shri Shukdev ji says that when these four legs of Adharma overcomes the four legs of Dharma, at that time during the Kali Yuga, only the one charan, one leg of Dharma survives, which is a Satya, and it remains confined to the community where Asatya doesn't enter. So the people who stick to dharma, who remain stuck with what dharma shastras have to say, who remain faithful to what dharma is, they don't get affected by asatya. But most of the community gets affected by asatya. But still, the one charan, the one leg of dharma, which is satya, remains content till the time of pralaya. And gradually, when this leg of Dharma, Satya, starts declining, then the Pralaya happens, and again the universe starts with the Krita Yuga, having Dharma in its purest form. So, this is how Kali Yuga has been described in Dharma Shastras, and through this description, the most important thing which Dharma Shastras wants to focus upon is that though we find dharmic descriptions in a much elaborated way, and all the Dharma Shastras have explained the meaning of dharma in a very elaborated way, the way we understood it from the Shrauta Dharma, from the aspect of Smart and Pauranik Dharma and Tantra Dharma as well. But still, if we just try to understand the form of dharma in a nutshell, we can understand it from the Chatushpada Dharma, which is Tapa, Gyan, Yagya, and Daan. And this can be, these four legs of dharma, this Chatushpada Dharma, can be understood as the source of dharma, as the most primary and primordial nature of dharma, on the basis of which we can still protect dharma in the times when adharma is being prominent, and we see that the dharmic uh, ordinances, dharmic activities, and dharmic structure is getting demolished day by day by the as the time is declining and as the Kali Yuga is growing gradually. So on this should be understood. This Chatushpada Dharma can be understood as the conclusive form of Dharma and as the most primordial nature of Dharma. And on the basis of this Chatushpada Dharma only, we can understand the concept of Samanya Dharma, on the basis of which Dharma Marg is supposed to survive in Kali Yuga. Again, continuing with what Manusmriti has to say. So Manusmriti says regarding this that among how to serve, how to be strict, remain strict with dharma, how to protect dharma. At that time, by describing the four yogas and in that context explaining the format of dharma, Manusmriti says that Anye Kritayuge Dharmas Tretayam Dwapare Pare Anye Kaliyuge Nranam Yoga Rasana Rupataha. So here Manusmritikar says that gradually the dharma ras happens as yoga ras happens, and the capacity of human beings to follow the dharma also declines gradually through the declining time and through the Kaliyug getting prominent and adharma getting prominent. So, what I wanted to focus upon is that it is not so that Dharma Shastras are not aware about the condition, and that's why Anushangik Dharma in the format of Vikalp and Anukalp have been propagated by Dharma Shastras themselves. So, it is not so that following Dharma is not remaining relevant in modern times, and we will not be able to protect the Dharma in its form. So, though the dharma as propagated in Shruti Shastra and Smruti Shastra is not surviving anymore, or we see that we are not able to follow that dharma marg as propagated in Shruti Shastras and Smruti Shastras in its purest form. Still, the way Shastras have propagated the Anukalp and Vikalp to these dharma margas, we should understand that the Samanya Dharma and the Chatushpad Dharma, which has been preached by Dharma Shastras themselves, should be considered to be of same caliber. And that's why attaining Mukti, attaining Nirgunata, attaining Chitta Shuddhi is also possible by following this path of Dharma as Anukalpik Dharma, as a Yuga Dharma, in the period where Dharma is not able to be followed in its purest form the way it was propagated and taught in Shraut as a part of Shrauta Dharma and Smarta Dharma. So here Manusmriti says that Tapaha Param Krita Yuge Tretayam Jnana Muchyate Dwapare Yagyam Evahur Danamekam Kalau Yuge. So for explaining the Yuga Dharma, Manusmriti focuses upon the Dharma which remains prominent and which are more beneficial for the sake of that particular Yuga, that particular time. And for describing it, Manusmriti says that Tapaha Param Krita Yuge. During the Satyug, Tap Dharma, the Tap aspect of Dharma remains most prominent. And that Tap aspect of Dharma just doesn't mean to renounce yourself from the worldly life, to be in the jungle, to perform tapasya the way we understand it. But for each and every Varna and Ashram Dharma, the aspect which should be focused during that Varna, that Ashram is considered to be tough in context to that particular Varna and Ashram. For example, if Brahmachari is asked to perform Veda Swadhyay, for him, that Veda Swadhyay itself is tough. For the sake of grahast, if Daan is considered to be the most prominent dharma, then accumulating money through the dharma mark and using it for the sake of his family and for the sake of his society, being beneficial to the society itself is tapasya for a grahastha. When Vanaprasthi follows the dharma of Santosh and he is living the life by being satisfied with whatever he attains in the most nominal amount. At that time, that condition is considered to be tapasya for a vanaprasthi. And same way for the sannyasi, if he is focusing upon his Atma Kalyan, then whatever he is doing as a part of his sannyasa dharma should be considered as tapasya for him. So the definition of tapa will change for a person in correspondence to where he belongs, to which varna and ashram he belongs, and therefore the term tapasya should be conceived likewise contextually. So this is what Manusmriti says that in Kriti Yoga and Satya Yoga, tap remains the most prominent aspect of dharma. Gyan remains important in Treta Yuga. Again, it will be contextual to the Varna and Ashram Dharma. Dwapare Yagya Mevahur. In Dwapar Yuga, Yagya remains the most prominent method for attaining Atma Kalyan. And Dana Mekam Kalau Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, the Daan remains as the prominent aspect of Dharma. So here Manusmriti wants to explain that these are the aspects of Dharma which should be understood in nutshell as the format of Dharma, and again in the respect to what the Yuga Dharma is and how Dharma should be protected or conceived in respect to the particular Yuga, and all the dharmic ordinances attained or provided during that particular period in respect to the Vyakti Dharma, in respect to Samaj Dharma or Parivarika Dharma or Rashtra Dharma, should be can be understood as per the conclusive forms of dharma as explained in the format of Chatushpada Dharma. Now, as a conclusion, in the 12th chapter of Manu Smruti, Bhagavan Manu says that Veda Shastrat Tattvagyo Yatra Tatrashrame Vasan Ihaiva Loke Tishthan Saha Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So there, Manu is giving importance to Brahma Gyan, and he is saying that the person who is able to understand the Adhyatmic and Adidevic aspect of Ved, who is able to get into the Tattva of Ved, and he is able to get into the Shastrarth of what Ved and what Dharmic scriptures have to say, in whichever ashram he is, maybe in Brahmacharya, maybe in Grahas, maybe in Vanaprastha Sannyas, to whichever ashram he belongs, being in that particular ashram itself, being in this mortal world itself, he can attain Brahmatmakta. He can be Brahma Bhuya. He can be Brahma. And he can realize his Atma to be Brahman. He can realize the non-dualism between Brahman and himself. And that's how being in Ashram Dharma, being in Varna Dharma is can be understood with the respect to Brahma Gyan also. So, what I understand from this is that in spite of being following Varna Dharma, Ashram Dharma, or the way Nitya Karma, Naimittik Karma, or Shrauta Dharma, and Smarta Dharma have been explained in Dharma Shastras, if the person is not able to get into the Shastra, or the one person is not able to get into the Tattva of Ved, the Tattva Gyan propagated in Ved, then in spite of following Varna Dharma and Ashram Dharma, he would not be able to attain Chitta Shuddhi. So, though Varna Dharma and Ashram Dharma are beneficial for attaining Chitta Shuddhi, but still the aspect of Brahma Gyan will remain prominent along with following the Varna Dharma and Ashram Dharma in the format of Shrauta Dharma and Smarta Dharma both. So, whenever Dharma is being understood, whenever Dharma is being conceived, and whenever Dharma, the aspects of Dharma is being interpreted, at that moment, when the yoga changes, when the time changes, when a person may be eligible, may remain eligible for following some or the other Dharma path, or may not remain eligible for following some particular aspects of Dharma. Like, for example, all the acharyas who have propagated different sampradayas for explaining the Dharma marg, they incarnated in Kali Yuga. Starting from Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya till Mahaprabhu Vallabhacharya or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, including Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbar, Bhaskaracharya, Ramanand, etc. Everyone incarnated in Kali Yuga, and being in Kali Yuga, they were following Dharma marg in its most purest form because of their own caliber, and that's why wherever the acharyas have commented upon the sthiti of dharma in Kali Yuga, the condition which will arise in Kali Yuga, they say that dharma will be nashta praya but not nashta. It means that you will find the declining nature of dharma. You will find that people will not be able to follow dharma in its purest form. But it is not so that this condition will be same for each and every person. So it means that rather than focusing upon the anushthan or kriya aspect, whenever a person wants to protect the dharma, whenever a person is focused upon protecting the dharmic anushthan, or a person wants to focus upon the mukti marg by following the dharma marg, then rather than focusing upon the ritualistic aspect, when those rituals don't remain possible to be followed for a person, then in that time the person must focus upon the crust of dharma, which has been explained through Chatushpada Dharma and through the aspect of Veda Shastra Tattvagyo, through which Manusmritikar is saying that by Brahma Gyan, a person may belonging to any of the ashram can attain mukti in its purest aspect. So Chitta-Shuddhi is still possible if a person remains faithful to the Chatushpada Brahma and focuses upon the heart of dharmic anushtanas by focusing, not just focusing upon the Adivautik aspect, but by focusing upon the Adidaivik and Adhyatmik aspect of Dharma Marga. So, in that way, Manusmriti gradually for explaining the aspect of dharma and how what are the concepts which should be considered as the heart of dharma marg. For explaining those, Manusmriti is saying that sarvesham api chaitesham atma jnanam param suratam. So this is the conclusive remark of Manusmriti from the 12th chapter, where after explaining all the type of karma, all the type of dharma margas to the rishis, Manu says that among all the methods I explained, Atma Gyan should be considered to be the most important and primary form of dharma. Tadvyagram Sarva Vidyanam. Among all the Vidyas, consider consider Atmagyan to be the Agra Bhag of all the Vidya, and Pramapyettahiyamratam Tataha. And through which Vidya, when the Buddhi is created, when the Buddhi is engrossed with that type of Atmagyan, then the person through that sort of prama can attain amritattva. It means the person can attain chitta shuddhi, and through chitta shuddhi the person can attain mukti. So for that he says that which are the six aspects of dharma through which a person can attain atmagyan, and in that direction Manusmritikar says that Sharanam esham sarvesham karmanam pretya chehacha shreyaskarataram geyam sarvada karma vaidikam. So the people who are focusing upon the dharma aspects as preached in Ved in Smrutis, there are six type of karma which should be kept into focus when a person is willing to attain mukti through dharma, and when a person is focusing upon atma gyan to be the agrabhag of all the vidyas which are taught by Manu in Manusmriti. So there he is counting the six type of karmas which start from Veda Swadhyay, Tapa, Gyan, Indriya Nigrah, Ahimsa, and Guru Seva. So here he says that these are the six most prominent aspects of dharma through which a person can attain Shreya, Nishreyas for the sake of his Atma. So Veda Swadhyay again focuses upon Atma Vidya, upon understanding the form of Brahman, understanding the form of Jivatma, and keeping Atma Gyan into focus. So Veda Swadhyay will explain the Adhyatmic and Adidaivik aspects of Dharma Marg. Tapasya, again, in respect to Varnashram Dharma as well, and in respect to whichever karma a person is engrossed in. Gyan will focus upon Atma Gyan. Indriya Nigraha for the sake of controlling the sensory organs, because attaining Sattvikta through Indriya Nigraha, then Nirgunata on the basis of Sattvikta, and Chitta Shuddhi on the basis of Nirgunata. These are the steps in which Mukti Marg flourishes. So Indriya Nigrah is considered as the fourth important aspect of Dharma. Ahimsa, in the context of Dharma Marg, that because each and every conscious being is created out of the eternal being, and the Chaitanya Shakti of Brahman is there as a particle in each and every individual being. So Ahimsa should be practiced. And Guru Seva, from where the Atma Gyan is attained, from the person from whom the Brahma Vidya is attained, that Guru who guides a person through the path of Dharma Marg, through the path of Mukti Marg, he should be served by a Mukti Margi, by a sadhak. So Manusmriti explains that these are the six aspects of karma, dharma, the most primordial aspects of dharma, which should be kept into focus when a person is having the intentions for attaining mukti. And here Manusmritikar says that Vaidike Karma Yogetu Sarvani Etanya Sheshatah Antar Bhavati Kramashas Tasmin Tattat Kriyavidau. So here Manusmritikar says that the person who is engrossed in Karma Yoga, it means he wants to attain Mukti through Dharma Purushartha, through Karma Marg, and the Yoga term means to be Yukta with Atma. to be yukta with Ishwar, to be yukta with Brahman. So the being who wants to practice karma yoga, he should make karma the methodology for attaining mukti, to get sanyukta with Brahman, to get sanyukta with his own Atma. And among all the paths which have been explained under the category of karma yoga, under the category of kriya, under the category of karma marg, dharma marg, among all these, in these six aspects of dharma, Veda Swadhyay, Tapa, Gyan, Indriya Nigra, Ahimsa, and Guru Seva, each and every kriya should be uh, secondarily considered into these six primary aspects of dharma. So here Manusmritikar wants to say that in spite of having elaborate dharma paths, having ordinances in a very elaborate way, having the understanding of dharma in a very detailed nature, in spite of dharma being taught in these many ways, a person can incorporate all the type of dharma margas in these six aspects of dharma. And when we are specifically discussing about the survival of dharma and dharma raksha in respect to the Kali Yuga, in the period where dharma, Shrauta dharma and Smarta dharma don't remain possible, a person is not able to follow the Shrauta marg and Smarta marg, in that case, these six aspects of dharma should be kept into consideration. And the antarbhav, it means all the type of dharma margas which have been explained in an elaborated way can be categorized under these six major aspects of dharma. In this respect, even Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita says that Brahmanya dhyaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yah lipyate nasa papena padmapatra evambhasa. So here Bhagavan says that a person who is engrossed into karma along with Brahmagyan, and he is realizing his own form as Brahman, and he is able to understand the aspect of non-dualism based on Shastra Tattva, Shastra Gyan, Veda Tattva Gyan. And with that Veda Swadhyay, he is able to understand that his Atma, his Chaitanya, and the Chaitanya of Brahmanas are one and the same. Then, in spite of doing karma sang, being engrossed in all the type of karma, he will not be affected of those karma, just like the flower of lotus remains free from the mud in which it is created, in which it is there. So the karma marg can be like a mud in the absence of Brahma Gyan, but if the same karma is being done, because again, the way we discussed it in the morning session, that karma has the aspect of ahanta and mamata, and only if a person is dehabhimani, we feel that a person is eligible for performing karma. So dehabhiman remains as the prominent aspect of karma, because of which many of people misunderstand that karma should not be considered to be a reliable method for attaining mukti, because dehabhiman should be left, should be destroyed for the sake of attaining mukti. But here in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that these same karma can be performed by being Brahmagyani, and just the way lotus, in spite of being flourished in the mud, remains untouched with the muddy water, same way the person who is Brahmagyani can remain can remain indifferent with the effects of karma, which are considered to be having the opposite characteristics to mukti, to the aspect of mukti. So here Bhagavan says that lipyate nasa papena, so he will not be engrossed with the effects of those karma, not even pap, not even punya, and he will remain untouched and will attain mukti. So when Manu is focusing upon Veda Swadhyay, Tap, Gyan, Indriya Nigra, Ahimsa, and Guru Seva, we can understand it in through a triangle, that the lower part of the triangle remains elaborated, and the tip of the triangle, from where the triangle is getting engrossed, from where the triangle is being created, that tip remains the smaller aspect of the triangle. So same way, dharma in its elaborated form, in its engrossed form, It encompasses the whole arena in which Shrauta Karma, Smarta Karma, Pauranik Dharma, and Tantra Dharma have been explained. But if we get into the tip of the triangle, the tip of the Dharma, then gradually the Dharma Shastras themselves have explained the primordial nature of Dharma in the format of Chatushpad Dharma, the way Manu is elaborating these Dharma into the six aspects of Dharma, and this is how the dharmic aspects can be protected in reference to the Yuga Dharma, in reference to the way Dharma can be protected in Kali. So when Manu is saying that Daan should be considered as the prominent nature of Dharma in Kali Yuga, or Yagya or Satya and Tapasya should be considered as the Yuga Dharma, or Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Satya Yuga, Krita Yuga. At that time, he is talking about the tip of the triangle, and all the Shrauta Dharmas, which are in its purest form during the Krita Yuga, remains as the elaborated form of that Tapasya Rupi Mukhya Dharma. And same happens during the Treta Yuga and Dwapar Yuga as well. So these dharmas have been discussed as the tip of Dharma Marg, and by focusing, if a person is not even able to follow the Dharma Marg in its elaborated way, then by considering the Yuga Dharma, by keeping Yuga Dharma into focus, a person can discuss, can protect the Dharma, can follow the Dharma by keeping the tip of the triangle into focus. So by keeping Daan as the Mukhya Dharma of Kalyu, or by keeping Chatushpad Dharma into focus, by saying that Satya is the the last leg of Dharma, which is surviving in Kalyu for the people who remain faithful to Dharma Shastra, is preached in Srimad Bhagavat. And in the format of Vedas, Swadhyay, Tapa, Gyan, Indriya, Nigra, Ahimsa, and Guru Seva, a person can follow the Dharma Marg as preached by Manu himself. So the elaborated Dharma Marg, when it is not possible for a person to follow that elaborated path, he can focus upon these six aspects of Dharma and can follow the Dharma Marg for attaining Chitta Shuddhi and Mukti respectively. So now switching towards how the Dharma Marg has been preached in the aspect of Samanya Dharma, because we understood that Dharma has been preached in both the ways, with the aspect of Samanya Dharma and with the aspect of Vishesha Dharma. So Vishesha Dharma remains contextual to the particular Varna and Ashram Dharma, while Samanya Dharma remain common for each and every person who is following the Dharma Marg. So in that way, Dharma Shastras say, starting with Manusmruti, that Manusmruti has explained Samanya Dharma in both the ways. In one respect, in the sixth chapter of Manusmruti, Manu has explained 10 aspects of Samanya Dharma by saying that Dhruti, Kshama, Damosteyam, Shaucham, Indriya, Nigraha, Dhividya, Satyam, Akrodho, Dashakam, Dharma Lakshanam. So here he has elaborated that the 10 characteristics of Dharma are in the form of Samanya Dharma, and these 10 Samanya Dharma should be understood as the characteristics of Dharma, which should remain common for each and every person, irrespective to which Dharma, Varna or Ashram he belongs to, or to which path he belongs. It may be Karma Marg, it may be Gyan Marg, or it may be Upasana Marg. Still, the Samanya Dharmas remain common for each and every person. So there he has explained these 10 Samanya Dharmas, and along with that, the same Manusmruti explains it again. He confines these 10 Samanya Dharmas into 5 parts, which is Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Shauch, and Indriya Nigraha. So even if the 10 elaborated aspects of Dharma Lakshan, the characteristics of Dharma, are not being able to be followed by a person, then it can be confined into 5 aspects of Dharma. And with that, these Dharmas, a person can be eligible for following the Dharma Marga. Now, getting into the detail of each and every Dharma, all these Dharmas have been explained in Puranas as well. If we go through the Yajnavalkya Smruti, if we go through the Kurma Puran, if we go through Srimad Bhagavat, Bhagavat has elaborately explained 30 aspects of Samanya Dharma, while Manu is confining those into 10 aspects and again into 5 aspects, just the way a triangle gets declined into its tip, and then the single tip will form the whole triangle, and the whole triangle will focus upon the single tip of that form. So this is the way even dharma has been preached. So when we are discussing about the 10 Samanya Dharmas or 5 Samanya Dharmas or 30 aspects of dharmas is explained in Srimad Bhagavat. So we must focus upon this important aspect of dharma, that when each and every Puran is elaborating Samanya Dharma, each and every Smruti, in spite of explaining Varna and Ashram Dharma in such a elaborated way, even if they are focusing upon Samanya Dharma, then these Samanya Dharma just don't work as normal human attributes, human characteristics, or ethical aspects of dharma, but they have the aspects of chitta shuddhi and mukti marg in them, confined in them. Again, as we need to focus upon the adhyatmic and adidevik aspect of yajna karma before understanding its adibhautik aspect. Same way, even if we focus upon the adhyatmic and adidevik aspect of these samanya dharmas, we can understand that they have been elaborated in a way through which a person can attain chitta shuddhi for the sake of attaining mukti, as considering and keeping yuga dharma into focus. So, with that aspect, if we go through the definitions of these Samanya Dharmas, which have been elaborated in different Puranas and different Smruti Shastras, then starting with Ahimsa, as Manusmriti has counted the 5 Samanya Dharmas as the most primordial nature of Samanya Dharma. So, they're starting from Ahimsa. Kurma Puran is giving a very nice elaborated definition of Ahimsa by saying that कर्मणा मनसा वाचा सर्वभूतेषु सर्वदा अक्लेश जननम प्रोक्ता tu ahimsa paramarshibhi. So here he says that because any physical action that causes harm or imposes pain on any living being, be it a human or an animal or an insect or a plant or any other living organism, is considered to be himsa or violence in action. So, when similarly, this is about the aspect of ahimsa from the physical aspect, same is about the mental aspect also, and same is about harming others either physically or mentally is considered to be violence in thought. So, here it says that because each and every living being is the Chaitanya form of Brahman and is created out of the Chit Guna of Brahman, that's why practicing ahimsa is practicing Brahmagyan. It's equivalent to practicing Brahmagyan. So, if a person is not engrossed with Brahmagyan, he is not having the understanding of Brahmagyan, that person will not be able to practice ahimsa dharma. So, just by saying that ahimsa paramo dharma, a person cannot practice ahimsa. So, Brahmagyan is necessarily engrossed in the ahimsa dharma, and only by understanding the Brahmic aspect of each and every Chaitanya, a person can follow the path of ahimsa. Moving towards the Satya aspect, Manusmriti explains that Satyam Nama Manova Kaya Karma Bihi Bhuta Hita Yathartha Vibhashanam. So there Manusmriti says that at some time it also emphasizes that truth must be spoken in a pleasant manner. Truth should be spoken in such a way that a person doesn't get hurt with those words. And through man, through vani, through kaya, through karma, whenever we are thinking about the benefit of the society, benefit of the others, and we are speaking the reality likewise, then that sort of speech is considered to be Satya. Manusmriti has given a second aspect of Satya by explaining that Satyam bruyat, Priyam bruyat, na bruyat Satyam apriyam, Priyam yananratam bruyat, Esha dharma sanatan. So, by explaining the dharmic aspect of Satya Dharma, Manusmriti says that let one say what is true, let one say what is pleasing, let one not utter disagreeable truth, and let one utter no agreeable falsehood, that is the eternal law. So there Manusmriti says that This type of practicing dharma is only possible when we are engrossed through Brahma Gyan. Our chitta is pure, our chitta is shuddha. We have the purity of mind, we have the purity of antahakaran, we have the purity of body, and we have practiced the purity for the sake of controlling the sensory organs, through which we don't wanna hurt anyone, we don't wanna speak what is wrong. And this is the way a person can practice truth in his life, so not just with the word, but also in by applying it on his physical activities as well. Now through the third aspect, which is asteya, Shandilya Upanishad gives a very nice explanation to what Asteya is. Asteya is generally translated as achaurya. It means not to steal anything from anyone, not to take anything from anyone without his permission. So there he says that Asteyam nama manova kaya karma bihi paradravyeshu nispraha. So in this definition, Shandilya Upanishad says that through man, through vani, through kaya, and through karma, when a person is content with what he has and is not interested in ethically, he is not interested in taking anything from anyone, and he is practicing nispraha. It means he is not even willing to keep his eyes on the things which are owned by others. So asteya just doesn't mean that we should not steal anything from anyone, but it is about self control. And this has been explained in Upanishad by giving uh, the example of two brothers, two rishis who were brothers, Shankh and Likhita Rishi. And in that story, it narrates the life story of Shankh and Likhit by saying that once Likhit Rishi was meeting his brother in his house, and he was very hungry, and his brother was not present in his house. And all of a sudden, he had the thought of taking a fruit from the garden of his brother, and he started eating that. And when his brother arrived in the ashram and he saw Likit Rishi having the fruit, he asked that from where he got that fruit. So he said that it is okay because we are brothers, and it is even okay because I am not being hurt by you getting the fruit from my garden, but this is theft because you haven't asked for my permission before taking the fruit. So Likhit Rishi said that if this should be considered as the theft, then I should practice the dharma of achaurya, and that's why I should rectify the papa karma in which I got involved without any selfish intention. So he met the king of that state, and the king said that though I don't consider this to be a theft, because theft is considered in that case when if I steal something from someone, and if the person is getting hurt with that theft, then that condition should be considered as chori, or it should be considered as theft. So the king said that I don't find this to be a punishable offense. But if you ask that what Dharma Marg has to preach about the prayashchitta karma for chaurya karma, then in that case I will say that the hands of the thief should be cut down for rectifying the papa karma he has done. So Likit Rishi said that I am ready to get my hands chopped off, and as per the orders of king the same thing happened, and he was very content and satisfied and happy that he had rectified the papa karma he had done. And when he went to the river for offering his sayama sandhya, at that time he felt that without hands he would not be able to take the anjali of the water, and sandhya karma will not remain possible for him. But still he wanted to perform the karma. So when he got into the river, he went into the water, he again received his hands and he was able to perform the Sandhya Karma. So here the Upanishad says that this is how you practice Nispraha. It means you remain content with whatever you have. You practice the self control over your own self. And that's how, in the most uh, dreadful condition as well, a person must practice the dharma of asteya. So we can understand that achaurya or asteya is just not about not stealing something from someone, but it focuses upon the aspect of self-control, which can lead a person towards the path of chitta shuddhi. The fourth aspect is shaucha, which refers to purity. Purity with the reference to the physical purity as well and the mental purity as well. So there, the shaucha commands every individual to maintain purity of thought, purity of word and deed, which is also known as Trikarana Shuddhi of Kaya, Vani, and Man. And it is also known as Antaranga Shuddhi, in which a person practices integral or mental purity, and Bahirangam Shuddhi, which focuses upon the physical aspects of purity as preached in Smruti Shastras. So it comes under the category of Dravya Shuddhi, that whatever your object you possess, the body is also considered to be an object because it is useful in Dharma Karya. So the purity should be maintained. And if we go through Srimad Bhagavat, then there is a story of the mother of Danavas, Asuras, Diti, the wife of Rishi Kashyap, who after the Devtas killed Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, she was burning with the intention of taking revenge from the Devtas, and she wanted to get a child who would kill the Indra Devata. And for that, she started performing a Punsavanu Vrat, in which she had to maintain physical purity along with the mental purity. And while performing that Vrat, once a day, she just made a small mistake, and as a result of that impurity, she gave birth to 32 Marudgana Devtas instead of giving birth to a asura who would be killing the devtas. So there, Srimad Bhagavat says that the shaucha is a very important aspect of dharma, without which the dharma marg doesn't survive. So it is for the sake of attaining purity of body, attaining purity of the sensory organs, through which ultimately chitta shuddhi is possible. So shaucha focuses upon chitta shuddhi. Then the fifth aspect is Indriya Nigraha. Indriya means the sensory organs, and Indriya Nigraha refers to sense restraint or control over the senses. So, by for the sake of definition, for the sake of defining Indriya Nigraha, it says that Najatu Kamaha Kamanam Upbhogena Shamyate Havisha Krishnavat Meva Bhuya Evabhi Vartate. So, in this definition, uh, the Smruti says that whenever we feel that we will be satisfying this demand of our sensory organ, and by satisfying this demand of sensory organ, we will be able to practice self-control, because once we satisfy the demand of sensory organ, that sensory organ will be content and satisfied with what it got, and it will not create more demands. But what happens is completely opposite to this, and that's why the Smriti Shastra says that just the way we pour the ghee in the fire and the fire keeps on growing, same way, the way you fulfill the demands of sensory organs, those sensory organs start making more and more demands. And because of that, the demands, the desires, the objective desires, specifically the bhautik desires, remain unsatisfied all the time, and indriyas, the sensory organs, keep on demanding for more and more objects, and they never remain content with whatever has been provided to them. They never become satisfied with what has been provided. So indriya nigraha should be practiced for the sake of performing dharma, and that Indriya Nigraha should be performed not for the sake of suppressing the demands of sensory organs, but for the sake of protecting Dharma. Because as in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that the kamana, the desire of enjoying the worldly objects, relishing the worldly objects, they grow, and when a person is not able to fulfill those desires, he becomes angry, and whenever a person becomes angry, the brain stops making the difference between what is dharma and what is adharma. And in that case, a person becomes uncontrollable for fulfilling the demands of sensory organs. And in that way, he may involve himself into the adharma marg. And that's why indriyas should be kept into control. And that's why the example of horse has been given in the shastras for explaining the nature of in sensory organs, that if the rathi who is driving the rath, if he doesn't take the control of horses in his hand, and if the horses become uncontrollable, then they will lead the rathi towards the wrong path, and he will be hurt being on that wrong path, and he will not be able to reach to the destination he wanted to reach. So the way rathi keeps control over the horses, same way, the control of man and buddhi should always remain upon the sensory organs. And sensory organs should be controlled so that only that nature of kama purushartha should be fulfilled, which remains in the framework of dharma. So earth and kam should remain confined in the major circle of dharma and moksha. So that's the only proportion of earth and kam is beneficial, the proportion in which it can be beneficial for the sake of attaining dharma and moksha purushartha. So this is the way Indriya Nigraha has been explained. About Daya, Shandilya Upanishad says that Daya Nama Sarva Bhuteshu Sarvatranugraha. So a person should remain kind and compassionate towards all the individual beings, and such a person who is practicing daya, he will never utter or even think of anything that can harm, cause pain, or hurt someone else, so hurt any of the being. And for practicing daya, it is important that a person should remain pure in respect to his thoughts, in respect to his speech and actions. And kindness and the dharma daya should be followed in all these aspects. So this is what dharma shastras wants to say, that following these samanya dharma, though they feel easy, whenever we are defining these samanya dharmas, we feel that it is really easy to follow the ahimsa marg. It is easy to follow the path of indriya nigraha. It is very easy to follow the methods of shaucha. But if the same way a person who feels that performing the physical activity, the adhibhautik aspect of yajna is easy, but it is not easy to focus upon the adhyatmic and adidaivic aspect of dharma marg. Same way it happens with the samanya dharmas also, that the adhibhautik aspect of the samanya dharma looks easy, but if we get into the adhyatmic and adidaivic aspects of these samanya dharma, we can understand that a very superior nature of Brahma Gyan is needed, superior understanding of all the tattvas, the philosophical understanding is needed. A very superior nature of understanding regarding the primordial nature of dharma is needed, and only then a person can practice samanya dharma, which can lead him towards the path of chitta shuddhi, which can lead him towards the mukti as well. So, for explaining the Daan as the Yuga Dharma of Kali Yuga is explained in Manusmriti, Shandilya Upanishad is giving a very detailed explanation of what Daan is, relating it with what Bhagavan has also explained in Bhagavad Gita, that Danam Nama Nyayarjitasya Dhanadhanyadihi Shraddhayarhitebhyah Pradhanam. So it means that when we attain money or attain objects through the rightful occupation, as explained in the respect of Varnashrama Dharma, because occupation has also been titled by Smruti Shastras in respect to Varna and Ashrama Dharma. So through that, Nyayarjita, Dhana Dhanyadihi, the money, and the Dhanya, the grain or the object we possess, which has been attained by Nyaya, attained by Dharma Marg, if it is being offered to someone else for benefiting that person with having faith in that Dana Karma, then that type of that type of karma can be understood as Dan. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan, in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan is explaining the Sattvic, Rajas, and Tamas nature of Dan, in which, first of all, for explaining the Sattvic nature of Dan, he says that Datavyam iti yad danam diyate nupakarine deshe kale cha patre cha taddanam sattvikam smritam. The dan which is given to a eligible person at the right time, in the right place, for benefiting the other person, and by keeping the eligibility of the person into mind, then that type of Daan is considered to be the Sattvic Daan. And even in Chandogya Upanishad, the Upanishad says that if we are not taking care about the eligibility criteria of the person whom we are providing the Daan, and if he is making the bad use of the object he attained as Daan, then even the Data is considered to be papi for providing the Daan to a wrong person. So that sort of Daan is considered as a Sattvic Daan. यत्तु प्रत्युपकारार्थम फलम उद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टम तद्दानम राजसम स्मृतम. So here Bhagavad Gita says that the daan which is given with the selfish motive, that if I am helping this person today, this person will help me some other day. And if it is provided with that type of selfish motive, then that sort of daan is considered to be the rajas daan, and it will provide it will ultimately be result into the klesh will be not be not be giving any type of self-contentment to the person who is providing the daan. Adesha kale yad danam patribhyascha diyate asat kratam avagyatam tad danam samudaharatam. So here for explaining the tamas aspect of daan, Bhagavan says that if we are not taking the eligibility criteria of person into consideration, if a person is just focused upon forcefully giving something to someone out of his for the sake of fulfilling his selfish motives, or for the sake of fulfilling his uh, fame in the world, he wants to establish some type of fame in the world, in that case that sort of daan can be should be categorized as the tamas daan. So the thing is that even the dana karma should be considered as the dharma marg, and if it is the yuga dharma is kept into focus, then this dana dharma, the following the dana dharma is also possible only if the person is focusing about the eligibility of the person, he is focusing about the benefits of others, he is focusing upon not only upon the vyakti dharma but also upon the samaj dharma. And when he is keeping himself as he is placing himself amid the society, and he feels that the society from which we are getting benefited, it is our moral responsibility to be helpful and beneficial for the sake of society, only then with that intention the sattvic dhan is possible. So what the Samanya Dharma is being focused upon is that intentions and mindsets behind following this Dharma mark are also kept into focus. And that's why in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Shraddha-traya Vibhagi Yoga, Bhagavan is elaborating each and every karma, even the tapasya, even the dhan, even the yajna, with the respect of sattvic, rajas, and tamas good. And there he is discriminating between these three aspects of dharma, because empirically we see that dhan is being offered to someone, but we are not able to witness the intention behind that activity. So for by keeping that faith, that type of shraddha into focus, Bhagavan has explained the sattvic, rajas, and tamas aspects of all the type of dharma marg. And from there, we can understand that even tapasya can be of sattvic, rajas, and tamas nature. Even food through which we fulfill our physical needs, we fulfill the demands of our body. Even that food can be of sattvic, rajas, and tamas nature. Even the daan and the norms of pavitrata can be of sattvic, rajas, and tamas nature, just because the mindset of the person changes behind performing that dharma karya. So here it means that Samanya Dharma also just don't focus upon the Adivautik aspect, but they do focus upon the Adhyatmic and Adidevik aspect. And that's why when the same way the person, if he focuses upon the Adhyatmic and Adidevik aspect, Chitta Shuddhi can be attained in absence of the Shraut and Smarta Dharma by practicing Samanya Dharma, by keeping Yuga Dharma into consideration. Not all the time, but specifically during the Kali Yuga, when a person doesn't remain eligible for performing Shraut or Smarta Dharma. Now, for explaining the Samanya Dharma of Kshama, Chandogya Upanishad describes Kshama as forbearance of everything, the pleasant and the unpleasant, praise and insult. Just in the same way, Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita has explained the condition of sthita prajna. So there, by explaining Kshama, Shandilya Upanishad defines it that Kshama nama priya apriyeshu sarveshu tadana pujaneshu sahanam. So a person whose mind is unsteady and is affected by praise or criticism will bear grudge and when not praised or when criticized. But if a person is having the nature of Kshama, if he is practicing the dharma of Kshama, then he can keep control over his frustration and anger in all the type of unpleasant conditions, and therefore that prevents the person from forgiving those who appear to cause a real or imagined harm to that person. So in this aspect, Shama is just not about forgiving the person forcefully, or not just for the sake of forgiving the person for fulfilling our selfish motives or for the sake of attaining some sort of fame in the society, but it is in the respect of Brahma Gyan. So if a person considers the good and bad situations to be same, just the way in Bhagavan says that a person should be nirdvandva, he should let go of all the type of dualistic approach and he should practice non-dualism by considering all the conditions, all the circumstances to be same. So with this mindset, only with this mindset, a person can practice the dharma of Kshama, and this Kshama Dharma, the practice of Kshama Dharma is possible only with the respect of Brahma Gyan. For which the story of Vishwamitra and Vasishtha from Mahabharata elaborates the aspect of Kshama in a very nice way, where Vishwamitra harmed Vasishtha many a ways by stealing, by trying to steal the Nandini cow he had for the sake of fulfilling his dharmic needs, by killing 100 children of Rishi Vasishtha. And in spite of that, he wanted to attain the stage of Brahmarshi. But even after practicing tapasya for 10,000 years and after pleasing Brahma, when Prajapati Brahma appeared in front of Vishwamitra, Vishwamitra said that I want to attain the stage of Brahmarshi. Give me the title of Brahmarshi. So Brahma said that I can give you the title of Rajarshi, but not Brahmarshi. So Vishwamitra was hurt with that emotion and he came to kill Vasishtha, who had already attained the stage of Brahmarshi. So when he reached the ashram of Vasishtha, Vasishtha was having a conversation with his wife where he said that I praise Vishwamitra a lot because in spite of being a king, he was able to renounce from all his worldly uh, life, from the life he used to lead as a king, and he is practicing such a tapasya being in this jungle. So by hearing this, Vishwamitra was taken aback with the feeling that in spite of hurting Vasishtha in many ways, Vasishtha was still being compassionate towards Vishwamitra. And at that time, he bowed down at the feet of Vasishtha and Vasishtha gave him the title of Brahmarshi. And this is how Vishwamitra attained the title of Brahmarshi. So there Mahabharata explains the characteristic of Kshama, that Vasishtha being Brahmagyani, being Brahmarshi, he was compassionate towards Vishwamitra, and in spite of facing many problems from Vishwamitra's side in all the ways, he was able to practice the dharma of Kshama. So just with the definition where we say that forgiving a person is Kshama, the spiritual and Adhidevic aspect of this dharma of Kshama has been elaborated in Puranas in many different ways by giving this example of Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, from where we can understand that without having Brahma Gyan, without being on the stage of Sthita Pragya, where we can be steady in all the type of circumstantial changes, and we can accept all the conditions to be same by accepting as our fate or a destiny or the flow of the karma. The dharma of Kshama is possible to be implemented in our day-to-day life. For explaining the Veda Swadhyaya as the primordial nature of dharma, Purva Puran says that Vedanta Shatarudriya Pranavadi Japam Buddhaha Sattu Siddhikaram Punsam Swadhyayam Parijakshate. So the study of Vedanta, the chanting of Rudra Prashna 100 times a day, and the repetition of Om and other Vedic mantras, and that which makes one attain Sattva, Sattvikta, is called Swadhyay. This is the way Veda Swadhyay has been, the Dharma of Swadhyay has been defined in Purva Puran. So we can understand that in this Swadhyay karma, it is not so that reading the text is the Swadhyay, but understanding the Tattva of the Shastra is a Swadhyaya karma. And that's why that karma should be fulfilled in this particular way. For explaining the brahmacharya as the last form of Samanya Dharma, Shandilya Upanishad says that brahmacharyam nama sarvavasthasu manova kaya karma bihi sarvatra maithuna tyagaha. So the practice of brahmacharya leads to a control of mind and the senses, which ultimately results in the by cutting down the desires, by keeping desires into self control, by practicing brahmacharya, a person attains sattvikta, through which he attains chitta shuddhi and becomes eligible for Brahma Gyan. So, what I want to say is that this is the way, this is just the example of how the Adhyatmic and Adidevic aspect of these Samanya Dharmas have been explained by these Dharma Shastras, through which a person can definitely attain the stage of Chitta Shuddhi, through which Mukti is possible. But only if a person is just not focused upon the Adibhautik aspects of Samanya Dharma, but also upon the Adhyatmic and Adidevic aspects of these Samanya Dharma, which focus upon Brahmagyan, Chitta Shuddhi, Atma Shuddhi, and attaining Sattvikta, Sthita Pragyata, and Nirgunta. Now, moving towards the 30 aspects of Samanya Dharma as elaborated in Srimad Bhagavat. Though these aspects are related with the Upasana tradition, and that's why Navadha Bhakti has also been incorporated as in the varieties of Samanya Dharma. But still, if we go through the titles of these Samanya Dharmas, we can understand that the whole elaborated aspects of Shraut and Smarta Dharma can be confined into these dharmas. And if a person specifically focuses upon these Samanya Dharma, he practices these Samanya Dharma, he implements these Samanya Dharmas in his day to day life by keeping Brahmagyan and Sattvikta into consideration, then definitely attaining Chitta Shuddhi is quite possible by practicing Samanya Dharma. So, starting with Satya, Daya, Tapasya, Shaucha, again in both physical and mental aspect. Titiksha, endurance, it means to have control over our desires from which the actions are inspired. So the first thing is about being keeping the man into control, because man is considered to be the sankalpa vikalpatmika vritti of antahakaran. So all the type of desires are originated from man. When the sensory organs provides the empirically observed object to the man develops the desires to relish those objects, to attain those objects. Then buddhi comes into some sort of conclusion for attaining that object. And in whichever condition the buddhi is, in sattvic, rajas, or tamas, the buddhi will make such a decision as per its condition. And then a person gets engrossed into the action for attaining that mortal object. So, under the dharma of Titiksheksha, Bhagavat says that one must have control over the Sankalp Vikalpatmika Vritti of man, so that he can keep control over the actions, his desires, and his intentions for attaining the worldly objects. Then Shama, discriminatory power, to have the power to differentiate between what is dharma and what is adharma on the basis of Shastri ordinances. Dhamma means to attain Shastra Gyan. Ahimsa, again in the reference to what definition we went through. Brahmacharya, tyag of all the Nishiddha vrittis, all the Nishiddha karmas which have been prohibited by Dharma Shastras. Swadhyay of Ved and Vedant for attaining Brahma Gyan. Arjav, straightforwardness towards the dharmic activities, to always remain tatpar, to always remain ready to follow the path of dharma. Santosh, to be satisfied with whatever a person attains. Samadrak Seva, it means to be useful towards the society, towards the Samajika Dharma, Parivarika Dharma, and Kula Dharma, and being beneficial for the society. Gramya Iha Uparama, it means the practicing detachment in which a person gradually starts getting away from the family relations, family objects, and the desired objects, the objects towards which the indriyas or sensory organs get attracted. Viparyayakshaya, it means the observation of the fruitfulness of human actions. Observe what the human beings are doing, what will be the fruit of this particular karma in which a person will get involved, and if that karma will lead him towards dharma or adharma. By observing all the aspects of dharma and adharma, a person should get indulged into any type of action. Practicing mauna towards all the asadala. It means unnecessary talks, which will lead him towards ahanta and mamata. Atma vimarshan, it means to understand the form of his own atma, to understand the intentions of atma, the desires of atma, and the ultimate journey of atma towards which atma is engrossed. Sama vibhag, it means to consider everything equal by having attaining Brahma Gyan. Atma Devata Buddhi, it means consider that Devata is residing in your body, is residing with your Atma, and is witnessing whatever good and bad actions are being done by the person. So the Sakshi or Antaryami group of the Devata Paramatma should be kept into focus, and then a person should involve in any of the action by keeping Atma Devata Buddhi into consideration. Then the 9 aspects of bhakti are also considered as the Samanya Dharma as per the Bhagavatiya concept, because Bhagavat is Puran, Bhagavat is focusing upon the worshipping tradition, and that's why, as per Bhagavat in Kali Yuga, the Nama Sankirtan or the Seva or the worshipping the deity can only lead a person towards the Mukti Marg, and it should be considered to be the most superior path of attaining moksha. So, Shravana, Kirtan, and Smaran under the category of Nama Bhakti, in which something should be heard, something should be spoken out, something should always be kept into mind, which is being listened to, which is being read by the person, which is related to the deity, which is related to the Devata, Atma, or Brahman. Seva, the Paricharya, Dharma for the sake of deity, Ijja, the ultimate desire for attaining the deity, Avanati, to bow down in front of the Devata by having the humility in mind that I am bowing down to the Devata because he is superior to me. Dasya Dharma, to consider ourselves a mere servant of the Devata. Sakhya Bhakti, in which by growing the emotion of love and devotion towards the Devata, a person can get a friendly nature of devotion and bhakti towards the Devata. And Atma Samarpan, to completely be devoted towards the Devata and devote each and every action and Gyan toward the Ishta Devata. This is the format in which Bhagavat has explained the Samanya Dharma in the 12th skanda of Srimad Bhagavat. And Bhagavat says that by practicing these Samanya Dharma, it is easily possible for a person to attain Chitta Shuddhi, because all these Samanya Dharmas will focus upon the Adhyatmiki and Adidevika Shuddhi of the person. So by following Samanya Dharma, a person attains purity of body, a person attains purity of his sensory organs, he attains purity of Antahakaran by keeping Man, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahankar into the Sattvic Guna by attaining Sattvikata, which will lead him towards Nirgunta. Nirgunta will lead him towards the Chitta Shuddhi, and then Chitta Shuddhi will result into Moksha, whichever type it may be, maybe through Karma Marg, maybe through Gyan Marg, and maybe through Bhakti Marg. So these are the Samanya Dharmas which have been preached by Puranas and Smruti Shastras as the Anukalp of Vishesha Dharma. So the time period in which following Vishesha Dharma, Varnashram Dharma is not possible for a person in its purest form, because what we can do is to the best of our capacity. Because as I said, that all the Dharma which have been preached by the Shastras are not just Vyakti Dharma, but they are Samaj Dharma, Kula Dharma, and Parivarik Dharma as well. So, in spite of our desire to fulfill our dharmic inclinations, our dharmic duties, a person is not even able to follow those dharmas in current time because of the Samaj Dharma being lacking, or Parivarik Dharma or Kula Dharma is not surviving anymore. And because of that, Vyakti Dharma, in spite of our full engrossment, or a person being completely dedicated towards Vyakti Dharma, he will not be able to fulfill all the types of all the necessarily needed eligibility criteria for the sake of Shraut and Smarta Dharma. So, Samanya Dharma should be practiced with the understanding of Brahma Gyan, Atma Gyan, Atma Bodh for the sake of attaining Chitta Shuddhi. And definitely, it is possible if a person is focusing upon the Sattvic aspect, the Chitta Shuddhi aspect of all these Samanya Dharmas. And by focusing upon the Adhyatmic and Adidevik aspect, it is easily possible for a person to attain Chitta Shuddhi. And the living example, as I said, that all the acharyas who have propagated sampradayas have incarnated in Kali Yuga, and if they were able to preach dharma, the followers who followed these acharyas and the sampradayas till the date, if even they are able to attain mukti by following these dharma marg, even they are surviving in the Kali Yuga, but they are focusing upon the Adhyatmic and Adidevik aspect, and Adibhautik aspect has been provided as in the format of Anukalpa and Vikalpa through Samanya Dharma. So, as the conclusion towards what we should understand in respect to the Kali Dharma or Yuga Dharma, the way Manusmriti, Srimad Bhagavat, and Chandalya Upanishad wants to explain, that which can be the path which can be focused for the sake of attaining mukti and chitta shuddhi in current times. So, starting from Samanya Dharma do focus upon the chitta shuddhi, and chitta shuddhi can be attained by following Samanya Dharma. Shastra Gyan, not just about the verbal aspects of Shastra, about the Vidya aspect of Shastra, but about the Tattva of Shastra, where the Shastra wants to focus, what are the subjects of focus for the Shastra, and if Shastra is focusing upon the Atma Buddhi, Shastra is focusing upon the Chitta Shuddhi, Shastra is focusing upon the Brahma Gyan, then those aspects should be kept into focus, and by that type of Shastra Gyan, definitely Chitta Shuddhi is possible. That type of Swadhyay through Sampradayik traditions is possible even in this time of crisis as well. Following any particular sampradaya through which a person can practice Dharma Marga, Gyan Marga, and Upasana tradition, the sampradayas have their independent traditions for attaining mukti. They have propagated the methods, the paths based on Dharma Shastras, and these paths can be made use of by a person for attaining mukti. Bhakti traditions, which have the samuchaya of karma gyan, along with keeping bhakti tradition as an independent path for attaining mukti. Pauranic dharma for the sake of worship, because just the way in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that the Jnanagni has the potential to burn the karma. Same way, the devotee being in the superior condition of devotion can also be free from all the type of bondages of karma, good and bad karma. So even bhakti has the potential, and in Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhakti Yoga and Purushartha Yoga, where Bhagavan is focusing upon the path of bhakti, he says that the fruit which cannot be attained through Ved, Tapasya, Sankhya, Yoga, and any of the path can be attained through Ananya Bhakti. So that bhakti traditions can also be beneficial for attaining mukti. Purusharthas, which should be based upon Pauranic Dharma and Tantra Dharma. It means as Puranas have been propagated as Panchama Ved, they are established for the sake of explaining Dharma, Arth, Kam, and Moksha Purushartha. And as Puran preach Dharma through the living examples of the people who have followed the path of Dharma, a person can understand the aspects of Dharma through which he can attain Chitta Shuddhi and Mukti. Nishiddha Karma Tyag is the most important aspect when we are referring to the Yuga Dharma, because even if the person is not eligible for following the Vidhi aspect of Shastra, uh, removing or restricting himself from Nishiddha karma is possible for a person. So at least if Vidhi, the aspect of Vidhi is not possible to be followed by a person, he should restrain himself from the Nishiddha karmas. He should restrain himself from the karmas which have been prohibited by the Shastras. So, whichever activities have been prohibited by the Shastra, which lead us towards the Rajas and Tamas Gun, which increase Rajastha and Tamastha in human body, in human, in the sensory organs, in our buddhi, in our man, in our antahakaran, they should be restrained for the sake of protecting Satvikta, for the sake of attaining Chitta Shuddhi. So, Nishiddha Karma Tyag should be the most emphasized aspect of Dharma in modern times, where Vidhi is not possible, but restraining ourselves from the Nishiddha path is possible. Shastra Nishtha should be kept into focus, as I said during the introduction of today's session, that whenever we are asked to find a way, find a method for protecting the dharma, for protecting the dharma, for protecting the dharmic anushtanas, we try to find the methods on our own, on the basis of our empirical experiences, on the basis of what we understand, what society wants to understand, or what society wants to accept. But that should not be the way dharma should be protected. So Shastra Nishtha is the most important aspect where Shastra should be kept into focus. The utmost faith should be developed for each and every Shastriya ordinance, starting from Vedic Shastra till the Puranic and Tantra Shastra, until the Shastras which have been propagated by the Acharyas of different Sampradayas. So, at most, faith should be kept in each and every word of those Shastras, and in whichever condition a person is, and whatever way he wants to find out for following his dharma marg, he should keep Shastra into focus. He should follow the Shastriya marg in that particular aspect. He should focus upon what Shastras have to say, what sort of Anukalpik dharma or Vaikalpik dharma Shastra is providing as Apad dharma in the time of crisis, because Kali Yuga has been titled as the period of crisis for the people who wants to follow dharma, even by the Shastras themselves. So in the Puranas as well, it says that Kali Yuga will be the time of crisis for all the people who want to follow the dharma mark, because proportionately adharma is growing and dharma is declining. So in that period, if we just stick to the Satya aspect of dharma, which is surviving in the Kali Yuga, and restrain ourselves from the Asatya aspect, because Asatya is just not about speaking the wrong things, performing the wrong deeds, but it is also about having faith in adharma margas and being and keeping ourselves away from what Shastras have to say. So Shastra Nishtha should be kept into focus and should be developed in our heart while we are finding the dharma marg in the time of crisis. So Nishiddha Karma Tyag and Shastra Nishtha are the important aspects. And along with them, by following Samanya Dharma, by keeping Brahma Gyan into focus, by keeping the intention of attaining Chitta Shuddhi and Satvikta into focus, the way which has been explained in Gunatraya Vibhag Yoga and Shraddhatraya Vibhag Yoga of Srimad Bhagavad Gita as well, and in Puran and Tantra Marg also, and also in the Smruti Shastras. By keeping Yoga Dharma into focus, if a person focuses upon the Samanya Dharmas, he can attain Chitta Shuddhi and Mukti through the Dharma Marg. So these are the ways for protecting dharma in modern times, and especially when a person is focusing upon protecting dharma not just for the sake of society, but on the level of Vyakti dharma as well. He should be careful about the Samanya dharma being followed with the aspect of Brahma Gyan in it, by focusing upon the tip of the triangle, the dharma, the most primordial nature of dharma, by keeping Satya into focus, by keeping Daan as a Yoga Dharma into focus, and Samanya Dharma in the elaborated way of Brahma Gyan, and by Veda Swadhyay, Shastra Gyan, Guru Seva, Guru Nishtha, Shastra Nishtha. And these are the ways in which Brahma Gyan can be attained, Satvikta can be attained by a person when he is desiring to attain Mukti through Dharma Marg. I think I was able to summarize this aspect of dharma in reference to Kali Yuga. Nitinji, you can explain it in a better way because you have already curated a course and a book on Samanya Dharma. So I request you to give some conclusive remarks on the role of Samanya Dharma for the sake of.
I think you have already given a well enough detailed introduction. I think I would merely add, Maitriji, again, another wonderful concluding session for this series. I would merely add that it is important to remember that from perspective, Dharma does not exclude anyone. Dharma has a path, has a way for everybody. So Dharma does not exclude anyone. And this is very, very important to understand that no matter who you are, where you are located, what your gender is, what your nationality is, or at what stage of spiritual evolution you are, or whether you are a criminal, whether you are a sinner, or whether whoever you are, Dharma has a path for you, path for Abhyudaya Nishrayasa. The only people who become excluded from Dharma are those who exclude themselves from Dharma. So this was the thought that came to me while listening to the lecture today. And on Samanya Dharma, I would merely say that the very term Samanya means common, universal, something which is applicable to everybody. So this Samanya Dharma itself becomes Vishesha Dharma for those who do not have any other Vishesha Dharma, or those who have fallen from their respective Vishesha Dharma. Even for them, the Samanya Dharma itself is Vishesha Dharma. So, and this is the path for Abhyudaya Nishrayasa. And we see that all the spiritual paths, be it yoga, the Patanjala Yoga Sutra, he speaks about Ashtanga, right? The 8 Angas. The very first 2 are Yama Niyama, which is nothing but Samanya Dharma. Similarly, in the Bhakti Margas, the basic requirements is Samanya Dharma. In the Jnana Marga, there is no Jnana Marga for you without Chitta Shuddhi, and for Chitta Shuddhi, you need Samanya Dharma. So, Samanya Dharma is the foundation for all spiritual paths. It is a foundation for social harmony. It is a foundation for your ethical life, for retaining the cosmic order. So, Samanya Dharma is the essence of Sanatana Dharma. So, I think that is enough of a conclusion for this wonderful series of talks, Maitri. I think we have 1 or 2 questions. I will just see and take it up. Yes, if you have any more questions, please do ask now. We have some, I think we have a lot of time now. We can discuss many questions if we have. So one of the viewers have commented that if I understood correctly, the Vanaprastha ashrama is scheduled to fall around a time in one's life when she is closing in towards old age. Isn't the timing wrong, since the rigors of life during Vanaprastha don't sync with the capacities in that advanced age? Next, is it that the Vedanta philosophy has slotted actions around fixed slots noted as ashramas? Example, KFC was started at the age of 65 by its proposer, which is quite the timeline for Vanaprastha. Apologies if I miss something while understanding the whole matter leading to this query.
Vanaprastha ashram is practiced for the sake of developing the emotion of detachment towards the worldly objects, and as a practicing time for attaining sannyas ashram also, those who are eligible for attaining sannyasa diksha. So after the dharma, artha, kama and moksha purusharthas have been divided into these 4 ashramas, because the dharma purusharth is for the first brahmacharya ashram, artha and kam in the grahastha ashram, and moksha purusharth for vanaprastha and sannyas ashram. So for those who are not eligible for attaining sannyas ashram, they should practice vanaprastha ashram for the sake of attaining mukti. After detaching themselves from the earth and calm, they have been relishing or practicing during their grahasthashram. So as you are saying that about the age criteria, because yeah, obviously vanaprastha ashram tentatively starts from 50 or 52 years when a person is in middle age, and at that time he is asked to leave his house and grahastha ashram along with his wife and start living in the near to the village, but near to the jungle as well. And the way Shastra has mentioned the place for a vanaprasthi is that you are able to see the roofs of the houses, but you are not able to see the buildings. This is the safe distance should be kept from the village where you were living. And being a vanaprasthi, one must practice the dharma of santosh. So whatever you attain without any occupation, without any more type of actions for the sake of attaining arth and kama purusharth, a person should practice detachment for the sake of mukti. So age criteria is not much more important for Vanaprastha ashram, but the skill of developing the emotion of detachment is focused during the Vanaprastha ashram for the sake of moksha purusha. So that should be kept into focus. And about the skills or about how much potential a person has at what age is not kept into focus, but not throughout a life person should remain involved in arth and kam purusharth. This is what shastra means. So there should be a balance between dharma, kam, and moksha purusharth. So it should not be like that throughout the life till the moment a person dies he should keep on involving himself in his occupation for the sake of fulfilling arth and kam purusharth. And that's why the path of mukti is focused during vanaprastha and sannyasa.
Thank you, Maitri. If I might add, I think it is important to highlight that most people by their mindset will not be ready for a vanaprastha. Even after 65, 70 years, they're still attached to their kids, their family, and everything. So as long as you're not mentally ready, then you're not eligible for that
Exactly.
ashrama. But the goal is that ideally you should be. So that is what it's saying, I think in Bhajagovindam, Shankaracharya Bhutvi puts that now you're at the end of your life. Now at least chant the name of Hari, so you have been working on these Artha and Kama for so many years. Now at least you should think about what truly matters, because no matter what big empire you have constructed, after you die, you don't take even a paisa from it. So you have to, in the words of Manusmriti, there is only one friend after death, it is dharma. So you have to earn that dharma to keep you accompanied after your death. Wonderful question and wonderful answer, Maitri. So another question is, and this is very, very important question. I think I'm glad the questioner has asked this question. For a Nastika, be it an atheist or an agnostic, what applies, what dharma applies, principles of dharma applies, and on what basis?
A very diplomatic question though, because the Nastic person is just not one who does not believe in Ishwar, in the Satta of Ishwar, but also the person who is not accepting the supremacy of faith, because that person is also titled as a Nastic person. And if a person himself is not concerned about his own identity, the role of his Atma in this universe, from where it has attained this body, or from where the individual being arrived into this universe, if the being himself is not concerned about these things, then no sort of dharma can be applicable on that person. So he is completely ruled by his free will. He is working on only focused upon the empirical experiences, and that's why a person becomes Nastic most of the times. So for that person, Shastra doesn't define any type of dharma, specifically in the Shastric perspective. But yeah, Charvaka Darshan has elaborated the types of Nastic people, and that philosophy is for the sake of Nastic people. So if a person is pleased with that sort of mindset, that sort of lifestyle, then he can be a part of that thing. But yeah, Dharma Shastra will not give any dharmic ordinance to a Nastic. So a person is not accepting the supremacy of Ishwar and Ved over everything.
I think I would say that Samanya Dharma is applicable to them also, but they are the ones who don't subscribe to it.
Yeah, but that will not lead him towards any immortal fruit. I mean, yes, Samanya Dharma is needed, ethical behavior is needed as the most primordial form of Dharma. It is applicable on each and every human being. But the way Shastras have formed the aspect of Samanya Dharma is for the sake of attaining Chitta Shuddhi, Sattva, and Mukti, not only for the sake of having some sort of ethical behavior.
Yes,
So, with
definitely.
that respect, it will not be applicable on an aspect. But yeah, other than being a human being, the basic norms of being developing the humanic characters in a person, then in that reference, Samanya Dharma can be applicable to it.
I think it is more to do with the inability or the unintentional, inability of the Nastika to accept the Pramanatva Veda, which prevents him from accepting the whole criteria behind practicing Dharma. So, because Dharma means Abhyudaya Nishreyasa, he does not accept that Nishreyasa is there, he does not accept that Swarga is there. So, he is the one who does not want to practice it rather than the Dharma excluding him. Okay,
Exactly.
wonderful discussion. I have one question from YouTube. It is how to escape rebirth after doing good karma. Apart from karma yoga, how to achieve a state of no rebirth?
Through Brahmagyan, obviously, the karma which has integrated with Brahmagyan can attain and can lead the person to that particular stage. Because till the date you are having Dehabhiman, karma will not even bear you any type of immortal fruit. So, Brahmagyan is the key towards immortal fruits, immortal result of Mukti, and only Brahmagyan can lead a person to that path. So, Karma Yogi must attain the Tattva Gyan from Shastra, must perform karma by keeping Brahma Gyan into focus. And that integrated path of Karma Yoga with Gyan can lead him towards the immortal truth. Otherwise, karma will bear only mortal fruits.
We don't have any more questions, Maitriji. Any final concluding comments from your side?
I have already made all the conclusive remarks, but yeah, the most important thing I have been witnessing and which has been the base of this talk is that dharma should be interpreted from the Shastra. So whenever we are focusing on any of the aspect of dharma, it may be about Vyakti dharma, it may be on Kula dharma, Samaj dharma, Rashtra dharma, with respect to karma marga, Gyan marga, or Upasana tradition, each and everything should be understood on the basis of what Shastras have to teach and not just on the basis of what we understand. And even that understanding of Shastras should be an outcome of the commentaries of Acharyas, how Acharyas have interpreted the Dharma marg, the Dharma paths, and then that Dharma should be placed in front of the world as the aspect of Dharma, not just on the basis of our own mortal understanding.
I think that is a very important point, that dharma is a shastriya concept, therefore the shastra are the basis to understand it. And dharma, when you designate an action as dharma, it has a very particular connotation that particular action has the capacity to lead one to sukha, swarga, and chitta shuddhi. So if without that, simply calling any action as dharma will not mean that they are able to lead you to swarga and chitta shuddhi. So shastra is the only pramana to know this, and this is why the shastras are relevant even today. Not that they have become outdated. The dharma shastras are not outdated. The society has deviated from dharma, but the shastras are not outdated. We need to just study them and contextualize them. So, with this closing note, I again thank you, Maitriji, for making time for this long weekend session. I'm sure all of us viewers have learned many things from this, and many things they will be able to focus and reflect upon in the future for their own personal sadhana. So, with this, we conclude this session. Thank you again, Maitriji. And viewers, do follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates about our upcoming sessions. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha.